Today, we're going to have such an amazing episode. You know, I'm all about debates and questioning people's thoughts and ideas. The topic of conversation today is, does religion do more harm than good? Now, we know there's a lot of charities out there, that gives to the homeless people. We know there's some good to religion, but I don't see a lot of people or a lot of entities talking bad about religion because it's not right. You can't talk about God. You crazy? In this episode today, I'll be defending why religion does more harm to people than good. And I will also have a special guest. Well, he's not special no more because he's been on this show before, but he's a man of God. He's Christian. Me and Bintu is going to have a back and forth about religion, the good it does and the bad it does. I told him come prepared because I wrote notes. Usually when I write down notes, I don't lose. Granted, this is not about winning or losing. It's about learning, and experience. But Bintu is going to get this work. So for those of you guys who don't know, I've been a Christian my whole life. I became an atheist 3-4 years ago because I realized the more I started questioning the faith, the more I started asking questions to the elders, they refused to answer my questions or they didn't have an answer for me. And I'm a person that likes to know. I don't want to be led by faith because I don't feel like faith is a constructive way to lead. It doesn't help, right? So I need to know where I'm going. I need to know why is this there? I need to know when is this due? I like when people answer my questions. So when I started asking a lot of questions and it couldn't be answered, I realized, maybe it's not for me. So hence why to this day, I've been an atheist. And honestly, I've been so much happier as an atheist as opposed to a Christian. This is the happiest I've ever felt in my life. And I wouldn't want to give back this happiness for anybody. Let's get straight to it, bro. I've been preparing for this all week. I was gonna wear boxing gloves, but I feel like that's an overkill. With my first point, I actually wanted to show you a video. I actually wanted to show you a video that I came across yesterday. So we're gonna watch that together, and then I'll make a comment about it.
But first, let me show you a pretty picture and an ugly outcome. Have a look at this social media post made in Tehran, the Iranian capital, just a couple of months ago. Nice enough, isn't it? And in just about any country in the world, harmless enough. Dancing there in Tehran's Azadi or Freedom Tower in the background there are Astia Hagigi and her fiance Amir Mohammed Ahmadi. Astia, as you can see, is not wearing a scarf. They're both in their early 20s. That video was posted in November, and that young couple are now both in jail, sentenced to more than 10 years in prison. 10 years and 6 months. That video went viral on social media. It was seen and quite possibly intended as a symbol of defiance. But in this response, we see the nature of the Shia Islamist regime and the way it's cracking down on its population, on women in particular.
In that video I just showed, it was two Iranian couples. The guy just proposed to her and, they're all excited. They hugging and laughing, and they posted on social media. As you know, in the Iranian government, they're very strict on their religious beliefs. So when they found that video, they're like, yo, she's not wearing a headscarf. 10 years in prison. Each of them got 5 years in prison. Now, one of the things I hate about religion is freedom to express, freedom to be who you are comfortably, right? In what universe is it correct to put a newly engaged couple in prison 5 years each for her not wearing a headscarf? That's a disgrace on religion. Listen, the way people live their life shouldn't be impacted by religion. I view religion as a plus. Like, okay, this is all the rules that we have. If you choose to abide by them, if you want to abide by them, you can, but it's not gonna affect you on a moral level. So that's one point I wanted to make in regards to religion. My second point, wars. Let's talk about the crusades and persecutions of Jews. Countless people have died because of religious wars. Countless people have died because I think my belief is paramount to yours. When we're all human, at the end of the day, you don't know if God exists. No one has ever proved that God exists. No one has ever died and came back to life and said, yo, this is God. That has never happened. It's all speculations. So my thing is, why are we using a speculation to make moral decisions? That's one thing I disagree with. Another thing I wanted to point out, there was another war, the Muslim expansion, the 11th century. It was called the Holy War. Thousands and thousands of people died because of their faith, things that could have been prevented. There has been 1,763 wars that ever happened. 123 of them was because of religion. Now, that's a minute amount. That's like 6.98% of wars that ever happened. Through that 6.98%, millions have died. My third point, the most disgraceful religion to this day, in my opinion, is the Catholic religion. I don't understand how people's religious belief be so high that they can ignore sexual accusations. They can ignore predators. There's a lot of predators in the Catholic religions. Why do they have their own banks? Why do they have their own police force? You're a religion. Why do you need all those things? So in the last 80 years, there has been 158 priests has been accused for sexual assault or molestation of a child. That's only the recorded ones.
Wow.
But they're able to hide under the umbrella of religion because no one's gonna question God. Yo, I'm doing God's work, so I'm protected. And I don't think that's fair. Hold on, Bintu, I got one more haymaker coming. Keep your chin up.
Keep going.
And lastly, I feel like there's a text in the Bible. We're not gonna get into it because I don't want this to be like this is verse, this that verse. But there's a text in the Bible, Exodus 21. It talked about how you can beat a slave. You can beat him. God's words. You can beat a slave close to death, but you can't kill him. Now, I don't know about you, Bintu, but as a black person, my great ancestors been through slavery. I can't ignore a passage where God allows someone to allow you to beat someone close to death. I have a problem with that. And I can't skip by that text. I'm not just going to skip and be like, oh, God knows that. No, I need answers for this one. You can't skip by this. I need answers. And that was actually one of the texts that made me become an atheist, because whenever I went to like an elder, I was like, yo, why is this passage telling me to you could beat a slave close to death, right? That's not right. And they will always come back with the argument of, well, God knows all. He knows everything. Don't question God. And I used to hate that answer. What do you mean don't question God? If I'm putting my soul, if I'm putting my heart on the line for a potential afterlife, and you ask me not to question God, I'll be dumb. I'll be dumb to believe that. So that's one thing that irritated me. Lastly, I'm sorry, there's two more points I want to make. There's like the contradiction in the Bible,
keep going.
which irritates me. The kind, like, on one hand it'll be like, oh, an eye for an eye, and another hand it'll be like, oh, turn the other cheek. You're confusing me. Which one is it?
Okay.
Pick one. And finally, my last point, I want to talk about communion. Communion to me has to be the most satanic ritual I've ever seen in my life. What do you mean I'm gonna drink somebody's blood? What do you mean I'm gonna eat somebody's flesh? That doesn't sit right with me. Just like how a lot of Christians, we judge things we see on TV, like homosexual, just like how we judge them behind the scenes. We need to question that. Why am I drinking somebody's blood? Why am I eating their flesh? That's no difference from the Masons. They do something similar. The Masonic temples, they do something similar. What's the difference between you guys and them? So, in conclusion, I honestly feel like in the world we live in today, we'll be well off without religion.